The Geet Ruler episode number 96 explanation. As Luo Li's slender body appeared right by Mu Chen's side, the sword aura that blotted the skies rapidly converged together, before completely entering her body. However, the mountain peak that was sliced into two showed exactly how fierce the previous wave of sword aura was. Luo Li has also come out. Xu Huang and the other two were in joy as they looked towards Luo Li, before finally breathing a sigh of relief as another heavy weight was taken off their shoulders. Mu Chen's gaze was similarly filled with shock as he looked towards the slender and elegant young girl. Naturally, he was able to sense the faint spiritual energy pressure radiating from Luo Li's body. The sensation of this pressure was clearly much more powerful than before. "You've passed your spiritual energy disaster?" asked Mu Chen in astonishment. With a sweet smile, Luo Li gently nodded her head. Seeing her reply, Mu Chen immediately turned speechless, before feeling slightly depressed. It seemed that Luo Li was always present above his head. Although one's spiritual energy cultivation didn't represent one's true combat prowess, every time he broke through and assumed that he would be on equal grounds, the latter would similarly break through herself, thereby tossing him behind yet again. "Looks like it isn't that easy for you to surpass me." Seeing the slightly depressed Mu Chen, a witty shadow unconsciously flashed within her clear and transparent beautiful eyes. In the next instant, she raised her snow-white chin towards him with slight satisfaction. She, who was always quiet like a lotus, would only show an attitude that ordinary young girls would possess in front of Mu Chen. Rolling his eyes unhappily at her, Mu Chen said, "Don't provoke me. If not, even if you've passed your spiritual energy disaster, I'm still able to smack your butt." A deep reddish shade surfaced across Luo Li's face and ears as she heard his words, before a slight shadow of embarrassment surfaced within her eyes as she replied, "Pervert." If it were other people that said such frivolous words to her, she might have long sent her sword thrusting out. However, faced against Mu Chen, she could only embarrassedly stare towards him, a bearing appearing exceedingly alluring and soul-moving. HMPH. Seeing the two lovebirds flirting with each other, Chenxi could not help becoming enraged. The flames of fury burning in his eyes had grown even denser. With a sneer, he roared, "Mu Chen, do you really not plan to hand over the divine wood plaque?" Panning his head across to sweep his gaze towards Chenxi, Mu Chen gave a clench of his hand, causing the divine wood plaque to appear within. Waving it around, he replied, "Are you talking about this?" Spotting the divine wood plaque in Mu Chen's hand, a flash instantly gushed from Chenxi's eyes. Greedily licking his lips, he said, "Hand it over and I'll not give you any trouble. You are not worthy to have it." Hearing that, Mu Chen only gave a smile back in return. Shaking his head, he replied in a soft voice, "Rejected." "You?" Flames of fury instantly gushed from Chenxi's face. Clearly, he had also discovered that Mu Chen was playing with him. In the next instant, he said with a sinister and deceitful tone, "Mu Chen, I'll advise you to not be mistaken about yourself. Although you come from one of the 5 great academies, it is our Academy Alliance that has the say in this great spiritual academy tournament. If you really do provoke us, I'll guarantee that you won't even have the chance to retire from the tournament." Academy Alliance? Mu Chen slightly raised his eyebrows as he asked, "What the hell is that?" As he said those words, he shook his head as his gaze slowly started to grow cold. "Since you guys don't want to leave by yourselves, then all of you shall stay. Take action together and finish all of them." Chenxi was endlessly maddened by Mu Chen's attitude. Does this fellow truly think that he will be able to defeat over 30 of us by himself and his group? As his roar rang out, his hands abruptly came together to form a seal. In the next instant, powerful spiritual energy swept out like a storm, unexpectedly forming a gigantic stone tablet before him. Sparkling with dazzling rays of brilliance, mysterious patterns covered the entirety of its surface. At the same time, unique fluctuations started to radiate from it. Behind Chenxi, the dozen experts present there had also fiercely roared in succession, sending boundless spiritual energies gushing out. Transforming into beams of light, they shot straight into the stone tablet. Hum. Hum. As boundless spiritual energy poured into it, the radiant stone tablet drastically increased in size, instantly growing to a gigantic height of 1,000 meters. As its giant shadow came enveloping over, the entire mountain was covered in it. Instantly, exceedingly overbearing spiritual energy fluctuations rippled, causing the entire region to appear even darker and gloomier. Let me see what qualifications you have to keep us here. Heaven-suppressing divine tablet. Chen Shi's face turned slightly pale as he did his utmost to control the stone tablet that had everyone's spiritual energy condensed within. Locking his frosty gaze towards Mu Chen and Luo Li, a cold roar rang out from him, before the radiant stone tablet brought along its gigantic shadow as it pressed down towards Mu Chen's group at lightning speed. Raising her beautiful face, Luo Li looked towards the radiant stone tablet, before saying, "That person does have some ability. He's actually able to condense other people's spiritual energies into his own attack. Looks like the divine art that he had learnt is slightly mysterious." As her voice rang out, with the Luo God sword in her hand, Luo Li gracefully strode forward. With a shiver of her hand, sword light in the form of a silvery river abruptly rushed to the skies from the Luo God sword. Condensing together, it transformed into what seemed like a gigantic glowing shadow of a sword. Instantly, incomparably fierce sword intent radiated out, wreaking havoc across the region, before punching the mountain peak below it full of holes. Luo God Shadow Sword. Luo Li gave a tap with her slender snow-white hand in the space before her, causing the gigantic glowing sword shadow to howl. In the next instant, shooting across the horizon at lightning speed, it appeared right before the radiant stone tablet, smashing against it in a fierce head-on collision. Bang! Astonishing spiritual energy fluctuations swept out across the skies as the tip of the sword pierced straight into the bottom of the stone tablet. Astonishing fluctuations erupted from the two that were crazily trying to corrode each other apart. Raising his head to look towards the spectacle in the skies, Mu Chen gave a faint smile, before giving a heavy stomp. Cracks instantly extended from the ground below him as his figure shot into the sky. Quickly, he appeared beneath the sword shadow at lightning speed, before sending a punch rumbling out. Crackle! The light of black lightning encased his fist as claps of thunder were faintly heard ringing out. Traces of warping and distortion could even be faintly discerned from the surrounding space. After successfully passing through his human body disaster, the power he could muster had reached a somewhat frightening level. Bang! With his black lightning-encased fist, Mu Chen's punch fiercely smashed towards the sword shadow. The frightening power behind his punch instantly gushed like a flood, causing the sword shadow give a long cry. Relying on the power gushing into it, the sword shadow pierced straight through the stone tablet with a whoosh. Bang! Piercing through the stone tablet, the sword shadow rushed across the horizon, while cracks started to rapidly extend and proliferate across the stone tablet. Finally, it exploded into glowing dots that blotted the skies with a bang. Puff! As the stone tablet exploded, the faces of the dozen experts instantly turned white while blood spurted from their mouths. Being the lead, Chen Shi bore the brunt, with the spiritual energy within his body exploding apart, sending him shooting back miserably across a few hundred meters while spewing blood out. Instantly, the spiritual energy fluctuations radiating from him grew weak. Clearly, he had suffered some really serious injuries. He stabilized his sorry-looking figure as an expression full of shock and terror gushed from his eyes. He was simply unable to believe that their combination attack was actually destroyed by Mu Chen and Luo Li. The duo of the young boy and girl before his eyes were unexpectedly that strong? That's why there wasn't the slightest bit of dread present on their faces, even when they were faced against his lineup. They had simply not placed the entire lineup in their eyes. Let's go. Wiping away the bloodstains at the corners of his mouth, Chen Shi clenched his teeth, immediately making the decisive judgment to flee. The current situation had already progressed to a stage that none of them could regain control of. From the looks of it, they had truly underestimated the combat strength of Mu Chen's group by far too much. In that group, those three members were insufficient to raise any dread in them. However, Mu Chen and Luo Li, especially that Luo Li, were exceedingly frightening. According to Chen Shi's estimates, with Mu Chen's and Luo Li's strength, they might be able to rival the various big bosses of their Academy Alliance. Mu Chen, you're formidable. However, don't be too satisfied about it. Next time, our Academy Alliance will come knocking on your doors. At that time, I'm afraid that you'll no longer have the chance to struggle anymore. An indifferent expression appeared on Mu Chen's face as he observed Chen Shi fleeing away, not taking any action to stop this from happening. Why did you let them run away? Xu Huang and the other two felt slightly confused. If Mu Chen really wanted to take action, he could clearly force Chen Shi and his crowd to stay behind. Not replying to them, Mu Chen turned his head around while an exceedingly serious expression appeared on his face as he looked towards a mountain peak in the distance. Panning her head across, Luo Li cast her beautiful eyes similarly towards the same direction, before saying in a soft voice, "That's because there's still some unwelcome guests here, compared to those fellows before. Those fellows aren't considered as anything." Upon hearing that, the faces of Xu Huang and the other two instantly changed, before casting their terrified gazes out to size up their surroundings. There's still a stronger group covertly eyeing us. Seriously looking into the distance, a roar encased with powerful spiritual energy resounded across the region like a clap of thunder. The few of you have seen enough and should reveal yourselves, right? Mu Chen could faintly discern a powerful pressure coming from that direction. This was the first time he had felt that since he had entered the Great Spiritual Academy tournament. Clearly, a truly formidable figure seemed to be staring at them. Under the attentive gaze of Mu Chen, rays of brilliance suddenly sparkled from the distance. As the rays of brilliance shot over, they appeared in the nearby sky within a few breaths. Immediately, Xu Huang and the others shot their nervous gazes over, before immediately gawking the sight they saw. As the rays of brilliance dissipated away, 5 exquisite and alluring figures slowly appeared in the skies. The 5 girls all possessed outstanding figures, especially the one standing at the front. The golden battle armor covering her body accentuated her graceful and slender figure, while her slender, snow-white neck appeared akin to the nape of a swan. Her long black hair flowed down her golden battle skirt, with her slender long legs below appearing so dazzling, they caused people to be unable to shift their gazes from them. Xu Huang and the other two slightly gawked as they looked towards this girl, being unable to control their eyes from lighting up. This was the first time they had seen a girl of similar age that was able to rival Luo Li in appearance and temperament. Ha ha! You're truly worthy of the renowned blood Calamity of the spiritual road. This is the first time we've met. I'm Wen Qingxuan. Dressed in the golden armor, the absolutely gorgeous girl that appeared as beautiful as a goddess of war looked towards Mu Chen, before slightly parting her lips to give a faint smile as she introduced herself. Wen Qingxuan. As this name rang in their ears, the shock and amazement in the eyes of Xu Huang and the other two instantly disappeared completely. An expression that was overwhelmed with shock crept up their faces. The girl before them was actually the captain of the group that had towered over the first place on the competition point rankings, Wen Qingxuan. Wen Qingxuan. When this name rang into Mu Chen's ears, even he felt his heart growing slightly colder. Ever since the start of the Great Spiritual Academy tournament, her name had been akin to thunder piercing his eyes. That's due to the number 1 place of the top 16 rankings of the tournament had been occupied by this group from the myriad Phoenix Spiritual Academy ever since it started. Even with many other strong groups doing their best to catch up, they were still unable to surpass them. Wanting to lay claim to the number 1 place of this Great Spiritual Academy tournament rankings, where the experts were as numerous as the clouds in the sky, wasn't an easy task to accomplish. This was even especially so when this group was entirely composed of such pretty and exquisite-looking beautiful girls. For them, the difficulty to accomplish such a task would even be intensified. Therefore, being able to continuously occupy the number 1 place showed that Wen Qingxuan's group definitely possessed rather frightening strength. Whoever dared to underestimate and neglect those girls who appeared even more beautiful than flowers might have to pay an exceedingly high price. Mu Chen focused his gaze on Wen Qingxuan. Although he was shocked in awe of the appearance and temperament of the girl before him, he felt even more of an ambiguous vigilance against her. Not knowing Wen Qingxuan and with the latter suddenly knocking on their doorsteps, he felt that this wasn't much of a good matter. The strength of the group currently present before them might be the strongest group they've encountered since the start of the tournament. If they were to truly start a fight, even Mu Chen, who had just broken through, would not dare to guarantee themselves a victory against this group. So it's Captain Wen Qingxuan. I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. As those thoughts revolved within his mind, A faint smile appeared on Mu Chen's face as he cupped his hands toward her. Quietly standing by Mu Chen's side, Luo Li shot a somewhat strange look towards Wen Qingxuan. Although she had seen her before, they couldn't be said to be any more than acquaintances. Initially, while in the spiritual road, Luo Li's mind was only set on dealing with Ji Xian, which resulted in her not having the heart and mind to form connections. Looking towards Wen Qingxuan, the latter suddenly panned her head over, causing two similarly beautiful and soul-stirring eyes, yet possessing entire different temperaments, to cross gazes. These two young girls were both exceedingly outstanding, appearing as if the intelligence of the world had condensed into their bodies. They merely stood there, not saying a single word. Yet, a unique atmosphere started to extend and envelope, causing the people at the side to be unable to interrupt their stare down. Naturally, there was also no one that was willing to break this graceful challenge. As their beautiful eyes crossed gazes, it appeared as if something scorching hot seemed to gush from the depths of Wen Qingxuan's eyes, causing Luo Li to become slightly startled. Getting a strange feeling from it, she subsequently panned her gaze away. Brimming with smiling intent, Wen Qingxuan took light and graceful steps forward, walking towards Mu Chen, as her alluring figure caused other people to be unable to stop following her every move with their eyes. Bringing about a delicate fragrance, she drew closer towards Mu Chen and Luo Li. As she did so, Mu Chen was finally able to clearly see this alluring beauty. Faced against Wen Qingxuan, even Mu Chen had to sigh in admiration towards her. Just based on her exquisiteness and degree of beauty, Wen Qingxuan was not one bit inferior to Luo Li, merely that her temperament was entirely different from Luo Li. Luo Li was like the lotus resting quietly within the mountain valley, making the troubles and worries within people's hearts to gradually turn peaceful upon seeing her. Compared to her, Wen Qingxuan had a noble and arrogant air radiating from her, something like a phoenix that was soaring over the clouds would possess. It was extremely hard to find the softness and gentleness ordinary girls would have from her. Accentuating her slender and graceful figure, the tight-fitting golden battle armor on her body gave people a unique feeling of her being a goddess of war. Luo Li, we meet again. Standing before the two, Wen Qingxuan's eyes were currently resting on Luo Li's figure. Extending her slender and jade-like little hand, she said with a smile, I've yet to thank you for what happened at the end of the spiritual road. If not for you obstructing Ji Xian, I might not have been able to obtain the championship. With a faint smile, Luo Li shook her head as she extended her hand to give a gentle handshake to Wen Qingxuan. She didn't have a cold and indifferent temperament, merely that she loved to be in a quiet and calm environment. The girl before her, Wen Qingxuan, could be the most outstanding girl of similar age that Luo Li had seen over the past few years. When girls as outstanding as the two met, there would mostly likely be two extremely different outcomes. One would be the rise of some hostility, while the other was them becoming somewhat emotional. This was similar to the so-called mutual understanding and respect between men. Therefore, Luo Li did not reject Wen Qingxuan when faced with the latter's friendly action. I've some grudge and grievances with Ji Xian. Since Mu Chen was no longer in the spiritual road then, that's why I personally took action. You're very strong, and have relied on yourself to obtain the spiritual crown. I didn't give any help to you, replied Luo Li in a soft voice. If you had attempted to take the spiritual crown, then I might not have been able to contend against you, replied Wen Qingxuan with a smile as her beautiful eyes wandered about. Choosing to reply, Luo Li only gave a smile back in response. Looking at the two girls from the side, Mu Chen could not help rubbing his nose. For some unknown reason, he could faintly discern himself feeling unnecessary. Furthermore, he could feel that the gaze Wen Qingxuan sent towards Luo Li wasn't quite right. Behind him, Xu Huang and the other two exchanged glances with each other. Under the envelopment of the atmosphere coming from the two girls, they didn't even dare to utter a single word. Captain Wen Qingxuan. Could it be that you and your group didn't rush here for us? Said Mu Chen with a soft cough. If it was a male who dared to get so close to Luo Li like that, his face would have already flipped and turned black. However, with the opposite party being such an enchanting girl, the only thing he could do was to endure. Only at this moment did Wen Qingxuan turn her gaze to look towards Mu Chen. Her pair of noble and arrogant phoenix-like eyes started to size him up, giving off what seemed to be the flavor of an examination. In the next instant, a shade of ridicule curled from the corner of her red lips as she said, "Captain Mu Chen, I'm here to make a deal with you." "What deal?" asked Mu Chen in slight startlement. With a clench of her jade-like hand, an academy plaque appeared within Wen Qingxuan's hand. Present on the surface of the academy plaque was a number nearing 8,000, the number of points this plaque possessed. Although they knew about this, Xu Huang and the other two still sucked in a breath of cold air while their hearts and minds were filled with shock. After exhausting themselves for so long, the number of points they had was actually not even half of what Wen Qingxian possessed. These girls were too terrifying. "Captain Mu Chen, I'll give all of these points to you. Furthermore, I'll guarantee your admission into the final match. However, the condition is that you allow Luo Li to join my group. What do you say?" Grasping her academy plaque in her hand, a smile surfaced at the corner of Wen Qingxuan's mouth as she gave her reply. Hearing those words, Xu Huang and the other two instantly gawked as they vacantly looked at Wen Qingxian. Clearly, they did not understand the meaning of what she had said. She wants to use those points to exchange for Luo Li? Mu Chen and Luo Li had also gawked at those words. However, frowns quickly started to slowly appear on Mu Chen's forehead as he thought, this Wen Qingxuan's actually aiming for Luo Li? A frown also appeared on Luo Li's forehead. Looking towards Wen Qingxian, she said in a somewhat displeased manner, "Captain Wen Qingxian, what is this about?" Not replying to Luo Li, Wen Qingxian continued to grin as she looked towards Mu Chen. Staring straight at Wen Qingxian, Mu Chen's gaze turned dull as he slowly replied, "I don't know exactly what you want to do, however. Captain Wen Qingxian, let's not talk about a mere 8,000 points, even if you use yourself to exchange for Luo Li, I would feel that it's not worth it in the slightest." Although he knew that the girl before him wasn't benevolent or virtuous, her strength was on a level that caused even him to feel danger. However, Mu Chen could not permit her to act that brazenly and willfully here. Therefore, he no longer remained courteous with his reply. "Outrageous." Upon hearing Mu Chen's reply, the four similarly alluring and beautiful girls standing behind Wen Qingxian instantly roared with their sweet voices. As for Xu Huang and the other two, they quietly stuck out their thumbs. Faced against a girl like Wen Qingxian, Mu Chen might be the only person that would treat her like that. "Oh really?" A grin still hung on Wen Qingxuan's absolutely beautiful face, with the only change being the slight jump in those pair of phoenix-like eyes. Clearly, it was also extremely rare for her to bump into anyone that dared to speak to her in such a manner. Although she didn't have the thought to compare herself to Luo Li, the tone present in Mu Chen's reply, which sounded as if she was absolutely unable to be compared to Luo Li, was something that she wasn't too fond of. After all, there's always some pride and arrogance in every girl's heart. What's more, a girl like her, who was always the center of attention wherever she went. Upon hearing Wen Qingxuan's reply, spiritual light sparkled from the hands of the four girls behind her, especially from the twins, with unique fluctuations starting to radiate from them. Wen Qingxian wasn't the only strong person with this group. Even her four other group members weren't people that were easy to deal with. If each of them were to go their separate ways, every one of them would be able to take charge of a group by themselves. Sensing that the atmosphere had turned into something that wasn't quite right, Xu Huang and the other two quietly revolved their spiritual energies. Although they knew that the group before them possessed terrifying strength, if it was needed for them to take action, they would go all out without any restraint. Luo Li's forehead started to knit up, since she clearly didn't expect that the situation, which was originally somewhat friendly, would turn into this in an instant. Nevertheless, without speaking a single word, she slowly tightened her grip on her Luo God sword as her lovable face grew slightly frosty. As long as Wen Qingxian and her group took action, she would not hesitate one bit to take action herself. Although she had quite a good impression towards Wen Qingxian, it was nothing compared to her relationship with Mu Chen. "Captain Mu Chen, I'll give all of these points to you. Furthermore, I'll guarantee your admission into the final match. However, the condition is that you allow Luo Li to join my group. What do you say?" Grasping her academy plaque in her hand, a smile surfaced at the corner of Wen Qingxuan's mouth as she gave her reply. Hearing those words, Xu Huang and the other two instantly gawked as they vacantly looked at Wen Qingxian. Clearly, they did not understand the meaning of what she had said. She wants to use those points to exchange for Luo Li? Mu Chen and Luo Li had also gawked at those words. However, frowns quickly started to slowly appear on Mu Chen's forehead as he thought, this Wen Qingxuan's actually aiming for Luo Li? A frown also appeared on Luo Li's forehead. Looking towards Wen Qingxuan, she said in a somewhat displeased manner, Captain Wen Qingxuan, what is this about? Not replying to Luo Li, Wen Qingxuan continued to grin as she looked towards Mu Chen. Staring straight at Wen Qingxuan, Mu Chen's gaze turned dull as he slowly replied, I don't know exactly what you want to do, however. Captain Wen Qingxuan, let's not talk about a mere 8,000 points, even if you use yourself to exchange for Luo Li, I would feel that it's not worth it in the slightest. Although he knew that the girl before him wasn't benevolent or virtuous, her strength was on a level that caused even him to feel danger. However, Mu Chen could not permit her to act that brazenly and willfully here. Therefore, he no longer remained courteous with his reply. Outrageous. Upon hearing Mu Chen's reply, the four similarly alluring and beautiful girls standing behind Wen Qingxuan instantly roared with their sweet voices. As for Xu Huang and the other two, they quietly stuck out their thumbs. Faced against a girl like Wen Qingxuan, Mu Chen might be the only person that would treat her like that. Oh really? A grin still hung on Wen Qingxuan's absolutely beautiful face, with the only change being the slight jump in those pair of phoenix-like eyes. Clearly, it was also extremely rare for her to bump into anyone that dared to speak to her in such a manner. Although she didn't have the thought to compare herself to Luo Li, the tone present in Mu Chen's reply, which sounded as if she was absolutely unable to be compared to Luo Li, was something that she wasn't too fond of. After all, there's always some pride and arrogance in every girl's heart. What's more, a girl like her, who was always the center of attention wherever she went. Upon hearing Wen Qingxuan's reply, spiritual light sparkled from the hands of the four girls behind her, especially from the twins, with unique fluctuations starting to radiate from them. Wen Qingxuan wasn't the only strong person with this group. Even her four other group members weren't people that were easy to deal with. If each of them were to go their separate ways, every one of them would be able to take charge of a group by themselves. Sensing that the atmosphere had turned into something that wasn't quite right, Xu Huang and the other two quietly revolved their spiritual energies. Although they knew that the group before them possessed terrifying strength, if it was needed for them to take action, they would go all out without any restraint. Luo Li's forehead started to knit up, since she clearly didn't expect that the situation, which was originally somewhat friendly, would turn into this in an instant. Nevertheless, without speaking a single word, she slowly tightened her grip on her Luo God sword as her lovable face grew slightly frosty. As long as Wen Qingxuan and her group took action, she would not hesitate one bit to take action herself. Although she had quite a good impression towards Wen Qingxuan, it was nothing compared to her relationship with Mu Chen. The minute action of Luo Li tightening her grip on the Luo God sword was noticed by Wen Qingxuan, leading to her gently puckering her little red mouth. Sending a sweet smile towards Mu Chen, she said, what I've said just now was a joke. You won't be offended by it, right? Sensing the change in attitude from her tone, Mu Chen could only nod his head while remaining silent. Seeing Mu Chen nod his head, Wen Qingxuan gave a light laugh, with her voice growing increasingly gentle and soul-rapturing. However, I do take mind in the words you've said earlier. Could the renowned blood calamity of the spiritual road allow me to experience the ability you possess that made Luo Li stay by your side? Bang! At the very instant when her gentle voice rang out, frightening spiritual energy erupted from her body, like a volcano. With a clench of her jade-like hands, an exceedingly gorgeous golden-colored spear surfaced within. With a whoosh, the spear tip was thrust straight towards Mu Chen. At this instant, the atmosphere froze up. Boom! Boundless spiritual energy spontaneously erupted from Wen Qingxuan as she held a long golden pike in her hands. This pike was exceedingly gorgeous and seemed to be formed from plumes of golden feathers. At the tip of the pike was a phoenix spreading its wings, with its wings forming the incomparably sharp edge of the blade. If one were to listen carefully, one could almost hear the resonating cry of the phoenix. Despite bringing out her pike, a smile remained on Wen Qingxuan's beautiful face. However, a faint threatening atmosphere emanated from her eyes. Lifting her pike, she leveled it and pointed it right at Mu Chen. The boundless, agitated spiritual energy immediately targeted Mu Chen, and its suppressive force was so extreme it was to the extent that even the Shu Huang trio behind Mu Chen broke out in cold sweat and were unable to move a muscle. Mu Chen stared at the golden pike in front of him, and in the depths of his eyes, a chilling intent was surging. "Captain Wen Qingxuan, don't push it too far." Luo Li roared in response to Wen Qingxuan's provocation, unsheathing her Luo God sword. A frightening sword aura erupted from her sword. Slightly patting her head, Wen Qingxuan looked towards Mu Chen as the smile present on her face appeared coquettish and soul-stirring, yet possessed a concealed element of indifference and coldness. "Captain Mu Chen, if you really want to take action, our group might be invincible. Since you don't possess the strength to stand on the same level as us, I believe that you should understand that what I've said isn't a request, but a threat." Staring right back at Wen Qingxuan, black lightning started to sparkle as it slowly surfaced on his body. Wrinkling his forehead, he said, "Captain Wen Qingxuan, I know that your group is indeed extremely strong. However, I also have to tell you that I don't see you being truly capable of devouring us." Bang! Just as Mu Chen's voice that was gradually turning cold rang out, black lightning light furiously erupted from his body. As black bolts of lightning crazily arced and danced on the surface of his body, a frightening energy shock wave rippled, causing signs of warping and distortion to appear in the surrounding space. "Oh really?" Looking at Mu Chen, with his entire body clad in a black lightning light, Wen Qingxuan slightly raised her phoenix-like eyes while giving a light tug to her little red lips. In the next instant, a cold arc appeared at the corner of her mouth as a shiver shook through her jade-like hands. Like a golden bolt of lightning, space was shattered apart as the golden war spear in her hands was explosively thrust towards Mu Chen's chest. Roar! A dragon's roar resounded as Mu Chen's body appeared to instantly turn illusionary. Whoosh! The golden war spear was thrust straight towards Mu Chen's chest. However, it was unable to draw the slightest bit of blood as the figure before it had started to slowly dissipate away. A shadow remnant? What quick speed! With her spear landing on air, no feelings of shock were felt by Wen Qingxuan. With a sweet smile and a shift of her exquisite figure, she transformed into a beam of light, rushing straight across the horizon. The long spear in her hand was explosively thrust out, causing a golden spear shadow to shoot out, heading towards a certain place at lightning speed. Bang! Astonishing gales swept from the space as Mu Chen's figure appeared in a flash. A fist clad in black lightning light heavily smashed against the shadow spear, causing lightning to gush out as Mu Chen's body was sent retreating back a dozen steps. Wen Qingxuan's attack was exceedingly powerful. Although he had relied on his tyrannical fleshly body to block it, piercing pain had already started to radiate from his fist. Seeing this spectacle, Luo Li's lovable face turned completely cold, with surging sword intent sweeping out as she prepared to take action at any moment. However, just as she was about to do so, suddenly, the two exceedingly cute twins clapped their hands together to form a hand seal. In the next instant, rays of brilliance that appeared in the shape of runes shot out from their little hands. Drastically increasing in size as they did, they transformed into a radiant prison, immediately enveloping over Luo Li. Mysterious runes sparkled within the prison as they fluctuate about. Appearing akin to being alive, they slowly squirmed about as strange energies radiated from them. Seeing this, a frosty expression appeared on Luo Li's face as incomparably fierce sword light hit the skies and covered the earth as it swept out, smashing right against the rune prison. Crackling sounds instantly erupted within the prison as minute cracks started to appear and extend. Noticing these changes, the lovable faces of the twins slightly changed. Even experts of spiritual energy disaster would not be able to extricate themselves from this rune prison of theirs. However, both of them had never imagined that signs of it collapsing would appear so quickly in the face of Luo Li's attack. Only at this moment did Xu Huang and the other two regain their senses, since the changes happening to the situation before their eyes had happened too quickly. Who would have guessed that the exceedingly amicable showing by Wen Qingxuan a moment ago would change into a confrontation of swords and daggers within a short span of a few minutes? What caused them to feel incomparable shock was that this Wen Qingxuan truly appeared to not be a sociable person. Although she was elegant, beautiful, and not one bit inferior to Luo Li, she truly had a completely different temperament, compared to the latter. Thinking about this, the trio quietly sighed in their hearts, yet quickly revolving their spiritual energies to full power. After exchanging glances, the trio immediately rushed towards the remaining two girls of Wen Qingxuan's group that have yet to take action. Since they had started to fight for some unknown reason, they wouldn't stand aside and watch the fight taking place without doing anything. The remaining two girls of Wen Qingxuan were both also bright and soul-stirring beauties, with one of them possessing a head full of long golden hair, giving off an exceedingly dazzling sight. As for the other, she appeared to be weak, frail, and exceedingly quiet and refined. Yet, Xu Huang and the other two did not dare to underestimate her one single bit due to her appearance. After all, the group before them truly held the first place in the rankings. HMPH. Seeing the trio taking an offensive stance and rushing over, fear and dread were absent from the face of the golden-haired girl as she gave a cold snort. With a clench of her hand, a giant axe of exaggerated proportions appeared within, seemingly dwarfing her exquisite figure. Shooting out in the next instant, astonishing gales howled as they followed the giant axe as it furiously chopped down towards the trio. As for the weak and frail-looking girl, she retrieved an emerald-green jade umbrella. With a shake, incomparably rampant spiritual energy gushed out, instantly condensing into the shape of a hurricane. As it took form, it transformed yet again into a giant python that sat in the sky, launching attacks right towards the incoming trio. Captain Mu Chen, I know that you aren't as simple as you appear to be. However, I believe that you don't have the capability to obstruct me in whatever I want to do. Therefore, why is there a need to put up a useless struggle? If you let Luo Li go, I can guarantee that your Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy group will enter the final match. I've long heard of the great name of the spiritual road champion, Captain Wen Qingxuan. Since I've the opportunity to meet you today, please advise me. Looking at the dazzlingly beautiful young girl dressed in golden battle armor with a golden war spear in her hand, causing her to appear just like a goddess of war, a faint smile appeared on Mu Chen's face. In the next instant, his expression turned ice cold as black lightning light crazily sparkled on the surface of his body. Having summoned forth the might of his lightning god's physique till its maximum limit, for lightning runes rapidly appeared on his chest. Frightening energy fluctuations started to slowly radiate from him, shaking the surrounding space to the point of ripples starting to appear. After breaking through his human body disaster, Mu Chen's fleshly body had clearly become more tyrannical. Staring at Wen Qingxuan, he gave a furious stomp, causing the air beneath his feet to explode apart. With a whoosh, he appeared right before Wen Qingxuan. Wen Qingxuan's eyes brimmed with interest as she looked towards Mu Chen. Grasping her golden war spear, a golden battle armor-encased figure appeared voluptuous and exquisite. She was clearly slightly interested in this blood calamity that was similarly famous within the spiritual road as her. Being the man that could make a person like Luo Li fall into love with, he should have some ability, right? Appearing in a flash, Mu Chen's expression appeared exceedingly cold. Giving a hug to the air before him, astonishing ominous energies abruptly erupted from him, rushing towards the dome of the skies. Everyone within a 100-kilometer radius from him was able to clearly sense them. As the ominous energies blanketed the region, a black-colored demonic pillar rushed towards the skies. Looking at the astonishing ominous energies brought forth by the appearance of the black-colored demonic pillar, the bright and beautiful eyes of Wen Qingxuan slightly narrowed. Captain Wen Qingxuan, would you like to try receiving a move from me? As his loud roar resounded, his hands fiercely came together to hug the gigantic demonic pillar. While ominous energies surged and swept out like tidal waves, black lightning crazily sparkled across his body. In the next instant, hugging the demonic pillar, he gave it a furious wave, casting its shadow across the region, while howls seemed to ring out from the spiritual energy present in the world. At this instant, a scarlet-red shadow had gushed out once again from Mu Chen's eyes. Clearly, this was due to the ominous energies from the Great Meru demonic pillar, which was being controlled by him. After entering the Great Spiritual Academy tournament, Mu Chen had yet to use the Great Meru demonic pillar. However, from the looks of it, faced against a truly dangerous opponent like Wen Qingxuan, he finally chose not to keep it hidden. Upon taking action, he had unleashed his true killing move. Bang! Bang! The air continued to be blasted away, with the mountain peak below being shaken to the point of collapsing apart. Raising her slender, snow-white neck, Wen Qingxuan looked towards the incoming Great Meru demonic pillar as it brought along its ominous energies towards her. Her phoenix-like eyes contracted, while a sliver of astonishment that was exceedingly rare to appear flashed across her face. This Mu Chen's actually able to reach such a degree of strength with his cultivation realm of human body disaster? What can it change if I receive one move from you? Although Wen Qingxuan was a girl, the arrogance in her was stronger than anyone. She would not yield and admit defeat to anyone. She was just like the phoenix soaring across the 9 heavens, always raising her head up high in haughtiness. In this universe, it seemed that there was no one that could let this girl, who appeared just like the spirit of the heavens and earth, to yield. With an alluring laugh, one that was similarly brimming with haughtiness, her jade-like hands tightly gripped her golden war spear. As vast and boundless golden light swept out, they appeared just like the unfurling of a phoenix's wings, presenting an exceedingly spectacular scene. Heavenly Shadow Phoenix! A lovable roar rang out as Wen Qingxuan turned into a beam of golden light, rushing across the horizon. As golden light radiated from her entire body, she appeared to have transformed into an incomparably gigantic golden phoenix, sending astonishing spiritual energy fluctuations flooding across the entire region. Flapping its wings, the golden phoenix pierced through the heavens, smashing heavily against the gigantic demonic pillar in the next instant without the slightest bit of hesitation. Boom! At the instant of the collision, the weather seemed to have changed. The blood Calamity and the final champion of the spiritual road had started a genuine confrontation. The terrifying tornado-like spiritual energy erratically swept across the horizon, causing the clouds in the sky to split and shatter apart. As the shock waves surged and rumbled, loud claps of thunder could seemingly be heard resounding across the region. As the frightening spiritual energy shock waves shot out, ripples from it started to affect the battlefield below, causing Xu Huang and the other two to miserably retreat back, their eyes brimming with shock as they looked towards the confrontation happening in the skies. They had never seen such a confrontation before, not even from the fights Mu Chen had with experts of spiritual energy disaster. Indeed, this Wen Qingxuan wasn't simple at all, being actually able to force Mu Chen to such a degree. Whoosh! Under their shocked and terrified gazes, the storm of spiritual energies swept out, while two figures shot out from within. Boom! As they retreated back in the air, every single step they made caused the air to explode apart, while giant craters formed in the ground beneath them. Cracks extended from them like spider webs, revealing the astonishing destructive power caused by the collision of their attacks. Heavily stomping his feet, a shiver shook through Mu Chen's body as he finally got rid of the frightening force of rebound acting upon him. At this moment, his expression became exceedingly solemn, while the Great Meru demonic pillar surfaced behind his body, radiating with astonishing ominous energies. Raising his head, he focused his gaze towards the slender and elegant figure in the distance. At this moment, the golden war spear was still present in Wen Qingxuan's hands, while the golden battle armor encased her slender and exquisite figure. After experiencing the tyrannical head-on collision of their attacks, she appeared to have not received any injury from it. On the contrary, scorching hot fighting intent gushed from her pair of beautiful eyes. Mu Chen's power and strength had clearly exceeded what she had expected. Although the opposite party had the assistance of that black-colored demonic pillar, this was the first time she had seen someone being able to contend against her with a cultivation only at the realm of human body disaster. The blood Calamity of the spiritual road is a well-deserved title for you, said Wen Qingxuan with a smile as she tilted her golden war spear forward. The wielder of the spiritual road's spiritual crown is truly formidable, replied Mu Chen with a faint smile. The black lightning light radiating from his body showed not even the slightest sign of turning weaker. The girl before his eyes, Wen Qingxuan, absolutely possessed the qualifications to make him treat her with caution. Regardless of any connections, just based on talent and strength, there were only two people he had met in the last few years that was able to make him feel especially dreadful and cautious when around them. One of them was Ji Xian, while the other one was Luo Li. Now, he had to add Wen Qingxuan to this list. As the Great Meru demonic pillar hovered behind Mu Chen, scarlet red runes sparkled on the surface of its gigantic body. Boundless ominous energies continued to radiate from it, before pouring into Mu Chen's body yet again, providing him massive levels of power. Between you and Ji Xian, I wonder which of you is more formidable. Suddenly, Wen Qingxuan gave a laugh as her jade-like hands tightly clenched her golden war spear. "Won't you know it after you've tried?" replied Mu Chen in an indifferent tone as his gaze slightly drooped down. Hearing the faint and minute fluctuations surfacing within Mu Chen's tone, a crafty smile curled up at the corner of Wen Qingxuan's small red mouth. From the looks of it, there truly were some deep grudges and grievances between Mu Chen and Ji Xian. "Then I, Qingxian, will accept your invitation." Fighting intent surged within Wen Qingxuan's beautiful eyes as she gave her reply. Mu Chen's strength had truly ignited the competitive spirit present in her heart. She had never once assumed that she was weaker than any man. Furthermore, the opposite possessing strength exceeding her own was something that was extremely disliked by her. Heavenly Phoenix Spear. Boundless golden light erupted once again from Wen Qingxian. With a clench of her jade-like hands, the golden war spear ferociously left her hands. Violently expanding in size, it grew to a gigantic size of 100 meters in length. As golden light gushed from it, it transformed into a spectacular beam of golden light, shooting at lightning speed towards Mu Chen in an overbearing and incomparably fierce manner. Upon seeing this, not daring to neglect the incoming attack, Mu Chen gave a hug towards the air before him, causing the great Meru demonic pillar behind him to rush towards the sky. Immediately, ominous energies hit the sky and covered the earth as they swept out, preparing to face the incoming attack once again. Scree! However, just as Mu Chen was about to take action once more, a clear and resonant sword cry resounded across the region. A flash swept by Mu Chen's gaze as a 100-meter shadow-long sword split the air apart as it suddenly shot by, instantaneously appearing in front of the golden war spear, before smashing right into it. Ding! A clear metallic sound resounded as sword aura and spear aura swept out. A slender and soul-stirring figure appeared right on top of the shadow sword. With a raise of her jade-like hand, currents of sword aura gushed from within, heavily smashing against the golden war spear. The might of the surging force immediately sent the golden war spear flying back. Seeing this, Wen Qingxian raised her eyebrows, and moved her hand, which caused the golden war spear to rapidly shrink in size, before it returned to her hands as a golden beam of light. "Captain Wen Qingxian, if you really want to take action, let me accompany you." Standing tall on the gigantic shadow sword, a frosty expression covered the entirety of her exquisite, porcelain-like face as she spoke out. Staring right at Wen Qingxian, she spread her jade-like hands apart, and slowly raised her Luo God sword. In the next instant, astonishingly fierce sword intent started to radiate from it. "Luo Li, it's he who asked me to test it out. Didn't you hear what he said just now?" Seeing that Luo Li was about to take action, a sweet smile appeared on Wen Qingxuan's face as she said in helplessness. Despite her reply, she gradually started to restrain her boundless spiritual energy while the fighting intent within her beautiful eyes started to slowly withdraw. Seeing this, Luo Li clenched her hand, causing the Luo God sword to shoot back into her hand. Looking at Wen Qingxian with a somewhat helpless expression, she replied, "Captain Wen Qingxian, we don't have any intention of being hostile towards you and your group. Therefore, please do not cause any more trouble." "Okay." Giving a lovable smile, Wen Qingxian nodded her head, before shooting towards Luo Li and saying, "However, I don't like the way you address me. I've been searching for you for so long already. Therefore, you have to call me Qingxian." Seeing the amicable smile brimming on Wen Qingxuan's face, Luo Li slightly hesitated. Nevertheless, she nodded her head once as she replied, "Okay." Seeing that Wen Qingxian had restrained her fighting intent, Mu Chen had also shot towards Luo Li. Hearing the exceedingly intimate tone Wen Qingxian was using in her speech towards Luo Li, Mu Chen slightly raised his eyebrows as he thought, if it was a male, I would have immediately hugged the great Meru demonic pillar and sent it smashing down. "Captain Mu Chen, I've merely wanted to test your strength. You wouldn't mind my earlier actions, right?" A generous and alluring smile appeared on Wen Qingxuan's face as she said while looking towards Mu Chen. Seeing the stunningly beautiful face of Wen Qingxian that caused people to lose their breaths, Mu Chen felt a slight ache developing in his head. The girl before him was truly too troublesome to deal with. Such a character on a beauty like her was already excessive, yet she was too hard to be dealt with. Below them, Xu Huang and the other two had moved closer, their faces and hair all covered in dirt and grime. Earlier, despite their collaboration, they were suppressed to a distressed state by the two identical flower-like beauties. Hey! You three are no good. Compared to your captain, you three are trailing behind by too much. The four members of Wen Qingxuan had also shot over. Resting her giant axe on her soft and alluring shoulder, the golden-haired girl looked toward Xu Huang and the other two before flinging her mouth. Looking up toward those seemingly gentle and weak girls, with smiles pursing on their lips and little dimples on their lovable faces, Xu Huang and the other two could not help feeling somewhat embarrassed. However, the trio knew how formidable those gentle and quiet young girls were, since they were tossed quite vigorously here and there by them. Depressed expressions covered the faces of the trio. They had assumed that they were able to raise eyebrows and cause people to hold their breaths towards them after breaking through their human body disaster. However, they never expected that they wouldn't be able to deal with two soft and tender girls. They are the group ranked at the first place. Their strength as a whole is naturally higher than us, said Mu Chen with a smile as he patted on the shoulders of the trio. The only thing Xu Huang and the other two could do was give a bitter smile while nodding their heads. That's why Wen Qingxuan and her group were able to occupy and dominate the first place. With such strength and lineup, they truly were extremely strong and powerful. Turning his head to look at Wen Qingxuan, wrinkles appeared on Mu Chen's forehead as he asked, "Captain Wen Qingxuan, exactly what reason have you come to find us for?" With a flick of her finger, a golden war spear disappeared in a flash. Blinking her big eyes towards Mu Chen, Wen Qingxuan replied, "2 reasons. The first is to come and see Luo Li, as she had greatly helped me in the spiritual road, while I've not had the chance to thank her for that. As for the second reason, I've wanted to find you to collaborate. Naturally, I needed to test your strength before collaborating." "Collaborate?" asked Mu Chen doubtfully as he looked towards Wen Qingxuan. "The Divine Wood Palace quota." Curling a lock of her black hair behind her ear, Wen Qingxuan gave her reply in a played-down manner. "So you all have also come here for the divine quota, huh?" said Mu Chen with a slight frown on his face. This episode ends here. Thank you for watching.